Once, Israel had a king, chosen by God himself, a man who stood tall among the people, both in stature and in promise. His name was Saul, son of Kish. But within 3 chapters of Scripture, within a few short years of triumph and victory, this king would lose it all: his crown, his kingdom, and even the favour of God. This is the story of Saul's fall, the beginning of the end, told through 1 Samuel chapters 13 to 15. On the battlefield of Michmash, soldiers trembled as the Philistines gathered like a storm. The Philistines, fierce, organised and armed with iron, had risen again against Israel. King Saul had only 3,000 men, but when they saw the vast enemy, chariots, horsemen, soldiers as numerous as sand, panic swept through the camp. Men fled to caves, thickets, and even the hills of Jordan. Saul was left in Gilgal, waiting for the prophet Samuel, who had promised to come in 7 days to offer sacrifices before battle. But the 7th day came, and Samuel was nowhere in sight. Saul's army was slipping away, his men terrified, abandoning him by the minute. So Saul, anxious, desperate and afraid, made a fateful decision. He took the priest's robe, gathered the burnt offering, and offered the sacrifice himself. The moment he finished, Samuel appeared. He was dumbfounded, and he said, "What have you done, Saul?" "Saul, when I saw the people scattering, and that you did not come, I forced myself and offered the burnt offering." Samuel's eyes burned with great disappointment. Samuel said to Saul, "You have done foolishly. You have not kept the command of the Lord your God. Your kingdom would have been established forever, but now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought a man after his own heart." Then Samuel walked away, leaving Saul standing in disbelief. Saul's crown still sat on his head, but the favour of heaven had begun to fade. Despite Saul's failure, God was not done showing mercy to Israel. Among Saul's warriors was his brave son, Jonathan, a man of faith and courage. One day, Jonathan whispered to his young armour-bearer, "Come, let us go over to the Philistines' garrison. Perhaps the Lord will act for us, for nothing can hinder the Lord, whether by many or by few." And so, without his father's knowledge, Jonathan climbed up a rocky cliff toward the Philistine outpost. Silently climbing the scraping rocks, they heard the distant laughter of soldiers as they approached the camp. When the Philistines saw them, they mocked. "Come up here, and we'll teach you a lesson." Jonathan looked at his companion and said, "Follow me, for the Lord has delivered them into our hands." Then, in a burst of faith and fury, the 2 men attacked. In the first assault, 20 Philistines fell. Confusion spread like wildfire through the camp. Panic, shouting, trembling. The earth itself quaked, and even the Philistines began to strike one another in fear. Saul saw the turmoil and joined the fight, and by day's end the Lord had delivered Israel a great victory. But then King Saul made another foolish vow. He swore, "Cursed be the man who eats before evening, before I have avenged myself on my enemies." His men fought all day, faint with hunger, and Jonathan, who had not heard his father's oath, dipped his staff in honey and tasted it. When told of the curse, he said, "My father has troubled the land." Later, Saul sought to know why God was silent, and the lot fell on Jonathan. Saul declared, "You shall surely die." Saul was willing to execute his son, to keep from breaking the ignorant vow he made.
But the people rose up, crying, "Shall Jonathan die, who has brought this victory? Far be it." And the people rescued Jonathan, and Saul went home, defeated in spirit. With the crown heavy on his head, Saul sat alone, staring into the fire. Then came one final test, one last chance for Saul to prove faithful. Samuel brought him a message from God. "Now go and utterly destroy Amalek, every man, woman, child and animal, for they rose against Israel when they came from Egypt." Saul obeyed, partially. His army played drums of war as they marched to the battlefields. They struck the Amalekites from Havilah to Shur, but he spared King Agag, and kept the best of the sheep and oxen, saying they were to sacrifice to the Lord. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel. "I regret that I have made Saul king, for he has turned back from following me." Samuel wept all night. At dawn he went to confront Saul. Saul greeted him cheerfully. "Blessed be you of the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord." But Samuel's voice rose sharply. "What then is this bleating of sheep in my ears, and the lowing of oxen which I hear?" Saul stammered. "The people spared the best to sacrifice to God." Then Samuel thundered words that would echo through history. "Has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying his voice? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you from being king." Saul fell to his knees, pleading, "I have sinned. I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Please honour me before the elders." But Samuel turned away, and as Saul grasped his robe, it tore. Samuel said, "The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you this day, and has given it to a neighbour of yours, better than you." Then Samuel ordered Agag brought forth, and the prophet of God, not the king, executed judgment himself, declaring, "As your sword has made women childless, so shall your mother be childless among women." Samuel struck King Agag with the sword, and silence followed. Samuel went back to Ramah. Saul returned to Gibeah, and the two would never meet again, though Samuel mourned for Saul until the day he died. Saul's story began with promise, the tall, handsome king anointed by the prophet of God. But disobedience, pride, and impatience turned divine favour into divine rejection. He still sat on the throne, but the Spirit of the Lord had departed. And somewhere, in the fields of Bethlehem, a young shepherd was tuning his harp, unaware that soon the oil of kingship would flow on his head. The key lesson from this story is, to obey is better than sacrifice. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 22. If you love biblical dramas, storytelling and lessons of faith, don't forget to like this video, share with others and subscribe for more Bible stories every week. See you next time.